What's good? This is Marcus the Fingaz, Dafingaz, with the Sampleist, back with another review. This one is a big one, the talk of the town, Watchkeeper from Keepforest. Before we get into that, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this video and to the Sampleist for more videos like this. And although the library was provided by the great team over at Keepforest, that will not affect our decision and our judgment of the plugin. And also, they have not had a chance to review this video at any time to provide any input. So let's get into it. Watchkeeper is the latest and greatest addition to the Keepforest line of incredible plugins. They mainly focus on mostly trailer stuff that you can use in movie trailers, epic cinematic things. And this plugin is probably one of my personal favorites from the Keepforest catalog. It is probably the biggest clocks and mechanism library ever. You can use it to quickly create rhythms. You can do sample import. It has an incredible playback system, incredible round robin layers, multi-instrumental tools, a multi-patch generator. You can control a bunch of parameters to create multiple rhythm patches at the same time on the fly. You are getting over 170 multi-patches, an endless number of rhythmic combinations. You also can get the wave sounds, one-shots, over 800 distinct sounds, more than 1,300 loops, over 2,000 stem loops, over 2,000 snapshots, over 150 stem folders. They are all categorized and organized by genres and styles. You have over 300 multi-patches, over 170 sound design patches, over 200 tone patches. You have over 700 design and raw patches. You have over 6,000 mastered audio files. You have over 3,000 rhythm presets, over 200 effects chains. I can keep going, up to 32 round robins in loops and created sounds. It has a unique custom algorithm generator, all in a 40 gigabyte package, which is really great for all the stuff you're getting. As of the time of this video recording, you can get Watchkeeper at the intro price of $379. It will normally be $449 once the intro price is gone. You can also purchase only the WAV files for $179. So you can purchase either the plugin or just the WAV files at the intro price of $179, and that will jump up to $199 once the intro price is over. It does not require the full version of Kontakt. You do need to have Kontakt 7.1.8 or higher, and it does work in the free Kontakt player, so you don't need the full version. All right, so after all of those numbers, all of that information, let's get into the UI. Here we are on the main page. The main page controls all the sample playback features that you would want. You have a sample window here, you have a playback style menu, you have AHD amp envelope for each sound, and in here you have 7 playback algorithms. You have the default, which is the sequential A/B playback mode. You have the random, which will randomly play back the sample. You have tick-tock, which will play back the A/B sample in the random point of the loop. You have odd, which will only play the A sample. You have even, which will only play the B sample. You have reversed, which will sequentially reverse the sample playback. And then you have free, which will be like an unquantized mode with adjustable start and stop markers and random sample start options. It's a great way to sort of imitate round robins when you only have one sample. So you have a lot of those options there. You have different layering options. You can allow up to 3 samples to be layered on top of each other. If we go here, you have doubling, which will be 2 samples, and then you have tripling, which will be 3, or default, which is 1, of course. And you can use this layering feature to create a true stereo image without any phasing issues. So I'm going to play what we have right now. This is just a default designed, and you have all these different folders. It's crazy. You have designed, impact. This is just the first one out the gate. So that's default doubling. You hear it getting a little wider. You see 2 of the samples playing there. And if we go to tripling, so it gives you that true stereo wideness that you can get. And additionally, if you notice when we started adding the other options, you got some additional features here. We got delay, which adds a delay there. And you can drag up or down to have the different delay milliseconds there. So you hear that sort of being delayed. Then we have drift, which is like a dynamic offset. So I'm going to drag that up. Then we have width, so you can widen or not widen, mono-wise the stereo field. So I'm going to drag this down, actually. You can hear how all that's up in the center. You hear how that's a little wider. Let's drag this back. And then you have levels, which is the volume balance between the mid and side layers. So many options there. And the graphic, as you can tell, as I'm adjusting the graphic here, It's changing that there. One thing I didn't mention at the beginning is the graphic itself, the watch. It's insane. When I keep hitting the sample, you'll see the time actually adjust. Look at the clock hands on the clock. And you just see everything go around. That is incredible, and it's great. You also have the filter option. So you have a low pass and a high pass filter. You have a velocity mode, which is ideal for adding movement, and it dynamically reacts to incoming notes. You also can set it to control, or constant mode, which allows you to just set and forget. So you can have the velocity control or the constant mode. Then you have the low pass or high pass filter. So you have options there. And also, the filter will close on low velocity values when it's set to velocity. So I press it low, the filter's closed. If I push it high, filter's open. So I'm going to push it soft. You hear that we're only getting the low pass there. If I hit it hard, you get all this glory. So really dynamic layering there. And then you have offset, which adds an instability, shuffle, or madness by shifting the loop forward or backwards. So you have so many options here. Really a lot to get into to really to try to cover in one video is a lot. So you can play any loop chromatically with the stretch mode. So if we go into stretch mode here, you can define the low note and the upper range. You can define the note that it will start on. But if I play C, then I can go up to here. Let's go to a tonal sound so you can hear it. I think bell. We'll jump over to bell, and we'll go over some of these sounds in the playthrough once I get through the UI. So I'm going to play C. So let's say I like that sound. I'm going to go to stretch mode here, and now I can play that bell sound. And let's do that with tripling. So you can get a lot of functionality there from layering the stretch mode with the step mode and the tripling. And then you have the step AHD. So let's say I want to bring the decay down so it cuts off the end of the note. I have a nice wide bell there. So you have a lot of options, and you can also turn off step mode. So let's say you don't want to have the tripling and the layering. You don't want to have the different options here. You can turn off step mode and get your regular ADSR here and not rely only on the step AHD tack, hold, and decay there. So you have many options there to dive into. With sample playback speed modes, you can also adjust the speed modes between half the speed, the actual speed, and then twice the speed, and each sample has its independent playback speed. So you have so many options here. Again, too much to dive into on one video here, but that is the main page. We're going to jump over now to the sequencer. So here we are on the sequencer page. This is defined as the heart of the Watchkeeper engine. You can have up to 8 subdivisions using the plus and minus keys. So if I do this here, I can have up to 8 subdivisions per step, which is crazy. You can also use keys on your keyboard. You can use Alt to edit steps. You can use the Control or Command key to edit one step. You can use the Shift key to edit every 4th step. And then you can use the on or off buttons to make sure that your sequences are enabled or disabled as you need. You have global copy and paste functions here. You have a lot to choose from. We have different filter types. So if we go to filter, actually, I'm going to display a velocity sequence here. You hear that going on. I can go over here to a pan sequence, and I can choose, let's say, a random sequence for pan here using the random button here. You can also copy and paste down here or reset that. So if I wanted to copy this sequence over to this one, I can do that option using copy and paste. Or if I wanted to reset it all to zero, and then do a randomize. So we're here with the pan sounds like. We'll go over to filter, give you an idea of what that sounds like, randomize. And you can choose between all these different filters here. You have 7 filters you can choose from. We have pitch. I'm going to randomize these. And then finally we have layers, and we will randomize this. And you can hear the widening of the sound. So that is randomizing the doubling and tripling that we saw earlier on the main page. All right, let's get back into the filters right here. With the filters, you have non-resonant types. You have 3 non-resonant types. You have the state variable low pass 1, 2, 4. We also have some legacy filters, which are resonant, legacy low pass filters 1, 2, 4, and 6. Now with the layer slider, if you noticed when we went over there, you had a threshold slider, which will set the lowest value for which the doubling or tripling occurs. And you can press arrange here and move steps to add tripling. So you have some options there. So let's say I wanted this one up here to have tripling, and you can see as you can adjust each step, it'll tell you if it's going to be off, doubling, or tripling. So you have that options there. And it actually says doubling. I like that. So you have those options there. You can also press the gear icon to see parameters that we saw on the main page, the delay, the drift, the width, and the level. So that's one way to see it on the levels, the layer side. Let's jump over to pan, which you heard earlier. With pan, you can place the instrument in the stereo field or add movement. You can draw this by hand. So if you want, you can draw by hand, and you might have seen the slider moving, but you can draw by hand. And then you can also use the dynamic slider on the left, which is also on every page. So this dynamic slider allows you to adjust the overall dynamics, but retain the relative level that you chose. So if I wanted to have this louder and I turn on the pan, actually it won't go down. So there we go. So you hear it going in the stereo field. Again, with the other pages, you have the dynamic slider here and there also. With pitch, you can go up or down 24 semitones. So I can go all the way up, which is 2 octaves, or down 2 octaves. So you have a lot of dynamics there. Remember, with pitch, in general, with sampling and pitches, the lower the sample goes, the slower the playback will be. And the opposite is true. The higher this sample goes, the faster it'll be. So we have the re-trigger option over here. This will allow those sounds that have samples that overlap to cut the tails, so that when you re-trigger a note, the tails will not overlap. Let's see if we can find something here. We'll go, in this case, we will go to some of our multis. And again, I will play through a lot more of these in the playthrough in a few minutes once we get through all the pages. Like I said, there's a lot to cover here. So with the multis, I'm going to play this. Let's see if I solo this bass sound here. And we go over to rhythm. If I hit re-trigger, it won't allow the bass to overlap. In some cases, you might want it to overlap, so you might turn it off so that the bass can overlap. We'll play that again. So it's very similar to a gate or having a tight ADSR. So you can get a similar result by playing with the ADSR controls here. With that sound. So that is one way to use the re-trigger knob on the rhythm page. And you can also shift the sequence. Let me get back to I'm going to reset this. All right, so we're back to our rhythm page. You can also shift the sequence by a whole step using the big arrow here on the left. So you can shift the sequence by a whole step, or you can use the arrow on the right here to shift it that way. You can also use the control or command key to shift by subdivisions. So if I hit command and click the arrow, you can see it's only going by subdivisions, so you can really customize the things there. You can flip the sequence on a horizontal axis using this thing right here. And you can see it just flipped it on its head. You can also flip the sequence on a vertical axis using this knob right here. So a lot of control there. You can move the sequence locators for uneven sequences. So I can use this option here to move the sequence. So if I wanted an uneven sequence here on one patch, but I wanted an even sequence on another patch, this is really a great way to customize and design. You can also crop and copy sequences. You can spread on the desired amount of steps. So you have a lot of options here. Again, too much to get into in this video, but definitely check out the Keepforest walkthrough videos for the full details of how to use these things. So let's talk about the rhythm page arpeggiator that is located at the top right here on the rhythm page. Play all is the default mode. It will play your monophonic or polyphonic sequences depending on what keys are pressed. The ARP ascending mode will play the notes from the lowest to the highest press. The descending mode will play the notes from the highest to the lowest press. The ARP order mode will play the notes in the order they were pressed. The advanced mode will define which of the 8 MIDI notes will sound by checking the boxes for each note. So this does require that you have a lot of notes playing in the sequence, and you can say this step I want the fourth note to play in this step. I want the sixth note to play. I want the eighth note here in the sequence. This is the eighth note as far as how many notes you're triggering in the MIDI. You can use the C button to clear that step also. So you have a lot of options there where you can just choose one sound or even multiple sounds to play at that actual step. So that is the advanced mode. So the key sequence works in monophonic mode and allows you to lock any step to a particular key. So I can lock this step to this key. So you have so many options there. If you want to initialize the whole pattern, I can use the reset button there and it'll reset all the rhythm patterns there, all the functions that we have there. All right, so let's talk about the randomization options. You can randomize the keys and the sequence. You can randomize the keys only or just the sequence. So I'm going to play this C3 and we're going to play with some of these things engaged. So let's just randomize the keys. Push it again. As you can see, it's randomizing those keys below the steps. Now let's randomize the sequence. You hear what's happening there. Now let's randomize the keys and the sequence. So you have a lot of control there to randomize the functions with that randomize option. Now let's talk about dynamics. There's another page here of functionality. We're going to jump over to the dynamics page. You want to make sure that if you see the power button next to any button that it is turned on and engaged. You see a lot of similar settings that we saw on the regular rhythm page. This is an additional sequencer where you can have the velocity, pan, filter, and pitch adjusted only for the dynamics. You have your randomize, your copy and paste and reset function here like you saw on the main rhythm page here. Again, you can reset those parameters there. You also have the reset all here, so you have options there. Let me choose a random rhythm again. Let's go to random. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I want something a little bit more fun. There we go. So let's go back to our dynamics page. So again, you have those similar functions here, but what's different on this page is you have this sensitivity slider, which will control the impact of each dynamic lane, but you also have this passive and active knob. With passive, it will offset the main sequence, and with active, it will add or subtract steps to the main sequence. Like I said, a lot of functionality. There are other controls that are available here in the dynamics page. You have the play all sequence again. You have your ARPs, your advanced, your key sequences that we mentioned earlier. Now let's go to some advanced settings back on the main rhythm page here. I'm going to turn off dynamics. You have this gear icon next to the advanced settings. This allows you to filter in some probability features. So you have skip steps and go steps. With skip steps, you can specify a velocity range and the chance of silencing steps in the sequence. So let's turn this on and I'm going to play this. So right now, any note that I play will have a 100% probability of being skipped in the step. So let's see what happens. As you can hear, you don't hear anything. Let's turn this down to about 50%. So we should be hearing about half the steps play. And now you can adjust it to say, hey, everything that I hit that is above 75% velocity will skip a step. But if I play it soft, it should play every step. I hit it hard. So you can use skip steps and you have a similar functionality with go steps, which will actually play the note a little quieter based on the probability. So let's say with go steps, you have, let's set everything to 100% so that everything that I play has 100% being a go step, which would be like a quieter sound. I'm going to play it hard. Same thing. Let's go to above 70%. I'm going to play it soft. So hopefully you can hear a little bit there what the go steps and skip steps is doing for the advanced settings. The go steps will convert a step to a ghost note with low velocity. All right, next to that, or on the opposite end of that, we have a velocity curve gear icon. What is this? This allows you to tweak the velocity response of the sequence with 4 different curves. You have linear curve, you have S-shaped, brick wall, and scale. The linear curve is allows you to scale the velocity to the adjustable shape that you see here, the convex concave shape, and you want to hit apply. So when you do choose that, make sure you hit apply. You can adjust it that way. You see the graphics changing there based on the velocity curve that you choose. Next, we have S-shaped curve, which shapes the velocity to the simultaneous curve here. So you have that S shape, you can hit apply there to make sure that, let's go back to S-shaped curve, goes there, and you can see the graphic changing as we do that. Next, we're going to go to brick wall, which allows you to strictly unify all velocity values to the set value. So again, this is brick wall, just one straight line across. And then finally, we have the scale curve, which changes all the values in a similar linear manner, but you can see the difference between linear, which allows you to bend the curve, and scale, which is basically a straight line. It is basically a linear curve. So there you go. And then you can use the apply button to change that velocity response. So you have a lot of functionality in the velocity control. All right, let's jump over to the knobs down here. So you have these 4 knobs down here. The steps is the number of steps in the sequence. You can go all the way from 1 step all the way up to 16. Frequency is the time division from each step. You can go all the way from 1/2 bar to 1/64th triplet note, or you can switch it to Hertz mode here if I hit the icon, and you can use the Hertz mode, which goes into the audio rate settings, and you can adjust it by the Hertz. Tempo is the speed of the sequence. So you can go from, let's turn this back, quarter note all the way up to, or not a quarter, you can go from a quarter of the tempo all the way up to 4x the tempo. So the tempo in this case of this track is 120, right? So let's jump to a quarter of that, and 4 times. That's crazy. Then you have the humanizer function, which adds random time errors and goes from subtle to an intense 60 milliseconds. So let's turn this down to 0, and then 60 milliseconds to add that humanized element built in. That is the 4 knobs down there. Let's jump up here to host grid. The host grid will allow you to lock the engine to the MIDI clips in your DAW, so the sequence will restart when it sees a new MIDI event in there. We won't go over that right now, but you can play with that. The reset all button, as we showed earlier, will reset all the parameters to its default state in the sequencer. Now, let's say you have something that you really like, that you've created, you spent time constructing a sequence. Let me find a random fun one here. Let's go. There we go. That's kind of fun. You spent time coming up with a sequence, or you chose random functions and it worked for you. You can now get the MIDI file. So what you can do is you can click Get MIDI. You see the check mark here. You can drag this MIDI file out to your DAW. If you want to import the tempo, you can. And now you can drag this MIDI file to other instruments in your DAW to play in your timeline. That is one incredible way to use sort of the Get MIDI and use Watchkeeper as a way to trigger other sounds in your DAW or other sounds that you own. So next, we're going to talk about the play once button. We talked about the trigger button, retrigger button earlier. The play once button will stop the sequencer at the end of the cycle. So right now I'm going to play the C button. And you see that it's looping. What I can do is, let's say I want to play it a lot faster. If I hit the play once button, I'm going to play and hold down the key. And it does not loop. It just plays it once, and now I can use that as sound design elements. I can use it to create one-shots, custom one-shots in there. So it's great to use that knob for that, especially if you are into sound design. All right, let's jump into the rhythm presets browser. I told you there's a lot to cover in this plugin. With the rhythm presets browser, you can sort the presets by the number, you can sort the presets by the category, or you can choose your favorite presets. And what you can do here is you can go into the categories at the top. You can choose all categories, or choose between any number of these 31 categories, or actually you can choose one of these 31 categories. You have over 3,000 rhythm presets, and the category menu allows you to quickly navigate through those presets. So let's say I wanted syncopated basics. All these presets here are syncopated basics in that category. So you can load the rhythm only, which will only load up the rhythm. It will not load up anything else. It will only load the velocity sequence. You can also pick random up here, or you can construct random with pick random. You can randomly choose a rhythm depending on the category you're in. If you have all categories selected, it will randomly choose a random selection. And you have these options here. With construct random, you can create a new rhythm depending on the category you're in, with a special algorithm that will will blend the rhythms together for the best result. And these options here, again, you can cancel, save as, and load. These options are the same as this here. This is pick random, and you hit that. I can say don't ask again, and it won't ask me again in this session. That's pick random, and this is construct random. Again, I'll hit don't ask again, and now if I hit it again, it'll just choose different options. I'm just clicking, and I can go that way. I also have this option here that I can choose from. So we have a lot of great options with the randomized option. All right, that is all for the rhythm page. We are getting there. Last but not least, we're going to talk about the effects page. You have 246 presets. You have up to 7 stop effects you can add in the rack here. You can reset them. I can bypass them. First, let's talk about the plus button. You add the effects by clicking the plus button to choose from the 32 effects. You can also use the magnifying glass here. Same option there to choose all those effects to open up the browser. The lower part of the interface, so let's say I choose one, the lower part of the interface here will give you the settings that are contextual to that effect. So if I wanted to have some settings for flare, you might have some drop down menus to choose some things. We don't have time to go into each of the 32 presets effects here, but you have the different contextual settings and the lower part of the plugin to choose those options. The slot presets will contain individual presets here. So if I wanted to go oops, I don't want to load a cell state. I want to go to electronic shaker. It'll load up sort of the effect for that. And then if I want to do walking delay, so you have those slot presets. You can use the power button to turn the effect on and off. So you just want to go bypass one certain effect, or you can bypass all using this button. And let's say they're all on, you can bypass there. You can click and drag. So let's say you want to try saturation down there. So you have so many options. You can use the clear slot button here to clear the slot. You can also use the reset all to clear all the slots. You can use this effects chain browser to sort between 246 presets. Let's see. You have a lot of browsers here. You have, 246. Let's go to Tiny Extractor and we'll do load. And again, you have a pick random there, and you have the pick random here, so you can randomize which one is chosen. And if you don't want this to pop up again, you can hit OK, but it does ask you, are you sure? You can say do not ask again. So I can choose random master effects chains there. You can use the save, load, and cancel. So let's say you want to go through a certain category like we saw in the rhythm browser. I can go here and say load. So many options. I can sort by name, category, favorite, like we saw before. And you can rearrange them by dragging them around, bypass, reset. One thing that you can do here is you can use the Kontakt automation engine to automate certain parameters. So let's say you want to go to automation, you want to go to host or MIDI automation to assign parameters to certain controls here, and you can have your MIDI controller assigned to those parameters. You can use a learn knob here. I won't be able to get into the full automation settings within Kontakt, but definitely find some videos that will show you how you can automate, set up automation for Kontakt instruments, and you can set that up for Watchkeeper there. Finally, we made it through all the settings here. What you can do on every page is you can use this question mark at the top right to give you an interactive manual. One thing to note is when you have the question mark engaged for the manual, it does not allow you to make any changes in the plugin itself. So you cannot make any changes, but it does give you some context within the menu that you're on or within the page that you're on. For example, if we go over here to the rhythm page, we will probably get a lot of pop-ups there. There you go. So you can see what the different settings do there. Let's jump over to the effects page. We will also do the pop-up there. So this will tell you how you can best use the effects page. You can also use the hotkeys here on whatever page you're on, and it will tell you the hotkeys for that page. So shortcuts that you can use on your keyboard. Let's go to rhythm here, hit the H key. That'll tell you the hotkeys for this page. And then again, we'll jump over here to the main page. The H key will tell you the hotkeys for that. There's a lot of things going on here in the plugin. All right, that's a lot that we've covered just on the plugin itself, these 3 main windows. What we're going to do now is I'm going to mute my microphone, and I'm going to jump into some different sounds from the instruments and the multis, and just play through some of these sounds. This might be kind of long because there's a lot to cover, and I want to play through a little bit of each folder. And as you can see, there's a lot of folders here. This could be kind of long because we have a lot to get through. So I'll do maybe 2 or 3 for each folder. So here we go. We're going to just dive in. You'll see the folders that I'm going to on the left here. I'm just going to drag them up to the right, and you'll hear some sounds going on. So here we go. Now let's get into the multis. You have a lot going on here, too much again to go into in this video. But what you can do with the multis is you can go into each of the different patches that load up in the multis and you can tweak them just like you can the individual instruments. And also up top here, you have some scripting controls. You can dive in here and you can adjust the different tones, variations, dynamics. You can do randomize in a lot of these functions. You have free space utility. You have a lot going on up here. Again, too much to go into in this video. I'm just going to play a couple of the multis right out the box. So here we go. And I'm going to turn down the volume because that probably blew your ears away. All right, and last but not least, we will go here to user sample import. This is where you can use the power of the Watchkeeper engine to manipulate your own samples. So let me just find, so here we are looking at sample packs that I have released, or maybe I haven't released, and I'm gonna go to just my orchestral sounds. So let's go to audio here. I'm gonna go through and look at one of these. Let's see if we can drag this in. Watchkeeper here, and it says add new. It can go drag and drop or replace. What I want to do, I believe, is just replace the sample that's already in there. If I hit a key now, down here to C1, so it's already chopped it up and spliced it into like different keys here. So the D, I didn't drag anything to that sample. So we're just looking at the C2 here. I dragged my sample onto C2, and let's see what we can do with chopping this up with the engine. The one thing I do here is some of the sample clipping when I hit the C note, I guess the round robin. So I can adjust that by hitting the attack. So you hear that clipping going on. Let's bring this up a little bit, and the clipping goes away. Let's see if you can hear it again. I'm gonna take this down, and you hear a little bit of clicking noise. So I'm gonna bring this up a little bit until that clicking goes away. All right, now let's see if we can do anything rhythmically with the sample. So I'm gonna go just random and hit down the 1 C note. Let's play with some other settings here. We're going to do a randomize on the pan, randomize on the filter. We're going to randomize the pitch. We're going to just have all kinds of fun. We're going to randomize layers. We just got to do it all. Let's go to main here. I want to bring down the decay now with all that random stuff happening. Well, it sounds like, you know, someone when they change the when they're changing the channel too fast on the TV. And one thing I didn't mention earlier, this is actual clock. You see the times there, the Roman numerals, and you can see the hands of the clock moving as it plays through the rhythm, if you have rhythm set, things like that. So watch the hands here as they move and animate. And you see the clock going to the next time. It's really, really a powerful plugin. Let's go through some effects with this random thing that I have going on. Just random effects. Okay. Just like that, you have a random like sound just from a sample that you already own, using the different effects and randomization features here in the Watchkeeper plugin. Yeah, so there's a lot going on here. That is very, very powerful. All right, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to jump into a demo that I created featuring Watchkeeper. Here we go. that is a demo. I actually created this for a trailer music library, so hopefully they accept it. I'm gonna dive in only to the Watchkeeper plugin on this track here, and we're gonna see what is going on. As you can see, there are only 2 tracks, but although there are only 2 tracks, these 2 tracks happen to be multi, so technically there are probably like 20-30 tracks, because the multi that I'm using, in this case I'm using the tension cut down dark descent 1. There are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, I think 8 9, maybe 12 in there, and I think there are 12 in the other ones also, so about 24, 25-ish tracks there in the multis. And what I did was I just found a multi that I really liked, and I opened it up, and I think I did some of the random options here, like the random pitch key. I think I did the random keys and sequence here, and just tried different buttons until something sounded great. And this is what I got for the first multi that comes in about the 19th measure or bar here in this track. So yeah, that's about the act 1-ish, 1.5-ish there, and then it comes in again, sort of at the act 2 here, act 1.5, and then 3 and 4, whatever acts you want to call this. I have another, it's just coming, but I'll play this again. So that's what's happening there. And then on the end of the track, the second part through to the end, I have this thing playing here, the Cyber Tribal Future Flash 110 BPM, again going just the randomized buttons here just to find something that I liked. And then I don't have the note holdout. If you look at the MIDI here, I'm not holding out the notes like I did for the first patch there. I have it playing a quick hit, and then I don't really hold it out until we start getting halfway through the act here, and then definitely at the end I'm doing some hits and drops there. So let's play, we'll play this whole part. Yeah, so that is the gist of how I used Watchkeeper in an actual trailer track that I'm going to pitch to a library. I have to hide the title. I just see I had the library up there in the title, so I'm going to have to remove that from this recording. But hopefully they accept this attempt, this trailer track. And what I really like, I mean, Watchkeeper, you can open it up and you can get some ideas going with the multis. You can use the individual instruments. There's a lot to dive in on the plugin itself. I really like the UI, especially with clock ticking when you have some of the rhythms and things playing. I like the gears moving here. What is missing, to be honest, it is really hard. I don't know what's missing. It's a lot in here that I haven't even scratched the surface on in this review. There is so much to dive into. Again, we do have the help button there, so that can help us when we're trying to figure out where we're going within the plugin. You have the multis, you have thousands and thousands of sounds, virtually unlimited combinations. You know, if there's anything missing, it would be maybe they should release an actual watch for, you know, the people that want to dive fully in. You can buy like the actual, I don't know what kind of watch, Watchkeeper watch, and to add that to your collection. But really, they've really knocked it out of the park with this one. I'm struggling to find something that they could improve here. One thing I have to figure out personally is when I am doing tracks like this for trailers, how to bounce the actual individual stems from Kontakt. That's not a Watchkeeper thing. I know there's a way in Kontakt. I just have to figure out how to do that, so that when I were to do it, I could keep it as like a Watchkeeper stem, but maybe I want to separate the kicks and the snares from the clocks and the different noises, so I could have those output to be different outputs. But that has nothing to do with the plugin itself. This is an incredible plugin. Probably one of my favorites from Keepforest, and I have a lot of their plugins, and this is definitely up there with one of my favorites. They've really spent time on this one and knocked it out of the park. Of course, my favorite clock plugin. You don't have to look anymore for any clocks and tick sounds and noises. Watchkeeper is all you need. So shout out to Keepforest for providing this plugin for us to review for you. Again, at the time of this recording, you can purchase Watchkeeper for $379. It is normally $449, so get it at the intro price. And also, if you only want the WAV files, you can get the WAV files for $179. That is normally $199. So definitely check it out. It does work in the Kontakt player, the free version of Kontakt, or Kontakt Full version 781, I believe, or higher. So definitely check that out. Also, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more great reviews on great plugins like Watchkeeper, and be on the lookout for more videos. Be safe and be well, everyone. All right. Peace.